Hello, 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 people. Back at it again. Another episode of The World is Burning. Hope you all had a great weekend. Coming in hot, starting another video covering some of these 2024 collapses and the financial issues everyone's going through. If you're new here, welcome, take a seat, join the 715 subs we got. Love the community, getting some fantastic comments again, guys. Today we're looking at the debt time bomb that everyone is going through right now. If you're not part of this debt time bomb that's absolutely crippling people, well done. Do not fall for it. Do not start taking out loans at this stage in the game. The people who are debt free are going to be in a good position. The people who are saddled with debt are just. It's going to be rough for them. So, debt time bomb in 2024 for families, Union Group warns. Let's go down here. Households are facing a debt time bomb next year, according to analysis from Trade Unions Group. Trade Unions Congress, which includes the likes of GMB, Unite, and Unison, predict unsecured debts are to surge by £1,400 in 2022. This includes borrowing which does not have property as collateral, such as loans, credit cards, and purchase hire agreements, but not mortgages. And here's the thing, guys. When you see people living the life, they've got really nice new clothes, they've got a really fancy new German car, this, that, and the other. It's all on finance, people. Nobody actually owns this stuff. This one here, Americans now pay as much interest on other debts as on their mortgages. Bills for consumer debt services hit record high this year. Mortgage burden still near historic lows with locked-in deals. And this is the thing, guys. In America, you can get a 30-year mortgage. People during the COVID times, the cheap credit times, were locking in on these mortgages, and they're not going to leave from those mortgages because they're a cracking deal. But at the same time, all their debts have rocketed, not including the mortgage. Non-mortgage interest payments claimed to an annual rate of just under 600 billion in January. Like, just think of that, guys. That's not to pay the debt down. That's just to service the interest on the debt. It's outrageous. It's outrageous. Like, how do you get out of debt when your interest? I just don't even know, guys. I just don't even know. How credit card usage is pushing Americans towards financial jeopardy. I think it's the average now is 4 credit cards per person in America. Swiping a credit card is dangerously easy, so much that over half Americans, 53%, have reached their credit limit at some point, and 29% admit that they max out their credit card every month. That's a third of people with credit cards maxing out every single month, people. The United States has nearly 1.3 trillion in credit card debt. Just let that sink in, guys. 1.3 trillion. Adding as much as 108 billion in 2023 alone. So, I mean, just make that make sense. Cities with the highest credit card debt, surprise, surprise. Cali, 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 Cali. I mean, it's just absolutely ridiculous, guys. 1 in 4 Americans with debt are putting less money towards their credit card payments. No one's got money anymore. They're racking up these debts and they can't pay it. People are really struggling to pay. Americans have much more credit card debt than in savings. Once again, this isn't a great sign. If you've got more debt than you do savings, you're in a bad position. And this is the norm now, guys. This is the norm. Which obviously leads to this. The defaults are expected to rise towards 5.5% in Europe and 6% in the US. I think we all know that's very, very low numbers. I think we'll be hitting double digits when shit really hits the fan. And also in the UK, banks are expected a sharp rise in defaults on unsecured debt. So you go through here, they're just saying that people have these unsecured debts, they don't have any collateral backing the debts. Obviously, those people aren't going to pay them back. So let's get into it, guys. I haven't seen any of these videos. Hopefully, good videos. Leave me a comment though. I love hearing from the community. Let me know if you've got any debt problems going on, or if you're struggling with debt, so how you've been finding it, or even if you're not in debt and your thoughts on it. Love to hear from the community. Now let's get into it.
Today, let's have an honest conversation. Everyday Americans are struggling and going deeper into debt. So I'm sure that many of you have heard this, many of you feel like this, but you know what? I'm going to show you the stats, because the stats show that this is what is truly happening. So listen, I know what the media is saying. The media is saying that the economy is booming, the labor market's strong, inflation is low, we should all celebrate, we should all be happy, right? But then someone out there, please explain this to me, because I see this as conflicting data. So take a look. So this is the total debt of U.S. consumers. It's at $17.5 trillion. This is coming from the New York Federal Reserve. So most of this is housing debt, talking about mortgages, which is what you see in blue. But look, there's still trillions of dollars of non-housing debt. And both categories are going up. And we're talking about record highs. So here is a breakdown of the debt. So it's the same chart, but it's broken down. So this is also coming from the New York Federal Reserve. Besides housing, the biggest debts are auto loans, student loans, and credit card debt. As you can see, they're all growing. And if you want to make the argument that they're all growing because of inflation, my response to that is that I thought the inflation problem was taken care of, and I thought that the economy was booming, so why are debt levels not coming down? Because look,
and this is what I'm saying, guys. Don't listen to the people who go on the media who say, oh, the economy's great, stock market's up, this, that, and the other. Look at this comment here. The people saying that are lying. The economy isn't doing well at all for everyday people. And that's it. We have two economies going on. We have the business economy, we have the large-scale economy, and then we have people's day-to-day economy. People aren't doing good. So this one here, inflation is extremely high, everything is expensive, the dollar lost value like crazy, yet the government keeps printing money and gives it to other countries. That is essentially it in a nutshell, people.
Levels came down in 2009 to 2010 to 2011 to 2012 to 2013. So let's go back to this chart. Maybe it's easier to see here. Debt levels went down. So that's strange that it's not happening right now in this type of booming economy. So I want to show you this. This is also coming from the Federal Reserve. So here's the breakouts. Mortgage debt, HELOC, student loan debt, auto loan debt, credit card debt, and other types of debt. Look at the change from quarter to quarter and year over year. Do you realize that every type of debt has gone up? Okay, now take a look at this. This is coming from the Federal Reserve as well. These are the delinquencies, 90 days late or more, year over year comparison. So look at home equity line of credit. This is the only category where delinquencies have gone down year over year. Every other category has gone up, so that is disturbing. And if you're like Brian, student loan delinquencies have gone down too. My response is no, that is not true. You know why? Because the politicians passed a rule where if you miss a student loan payment, those late payments will not be reported to the credit bureaus until Q4 of this year. Therefore, student loan delinquencies will appear low for the next 8 months. In reality, the Federal Reserve says that student loan delinquencies are increasing right now, which should not be a surprise because all of these debt categories are increasing in delinquencies. Again, this is strange considering that GDP grew at 3.3% in Q4. Unemployment right now is near record lows at 3.7%. And remember, the Federal Reserve says that wages are outpacing inflation. Okay, I'll tell you what, I'm not...
And that's it. They're just absolutely lying about the numbers, people. When this updates at the end of Q4, we're going to see that student loan one jump up. If you do even a quick Google search, people, you'll see so many people in America are just not paying the student loans because they don't have to, and the interest is racking up.
Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen warned that if the debt limit is not increased, the United States will not be able to pay its debt as of June 5th, 2024, and will go into default. A U.S. default could cause interest rates to rise, stock markets to decline, and the dollar to lose value. This could lead to a global financial crisis.
And we'll be paying attention, guys. Stay tuned. Give us a sub. We'll be here for when they announce that news. But yeah, they're kicking the can down the road. It's 34 trillion right now. In fact, let's look at the U.S. debt clock right now. Let's look at the debt clock right now. Live. 34.5 trillion, people. Boom, it's going up again. Another 100,000. Another 100,000. I mean, come on, guys. There's no paying that debt back. Absolutely no paying it back.
Tired of all that debt yet? Yeah.
Talk about over.
So it's tax season, and I'm about to hit you with a harsh reality. Obviously, we know that 2023 is a horrible year for the consumer with record inflation and the cost of living being sky high. And also, we saw records for how much personal debt the everyday consumer had. And it's this debt that you're continuing to carry over into 2024 that will keep you broke and will keep you in the position that you're in unless you do this one thing. And you're not going to like this next part, so brace yourself. If you end up getting a tax return this year, that money is not to be used to splurge on yourself. I don't care if you've been waiting to buy the Jordans. I don't care if you've been waiting to buy yourself the iPhone that you've been wanting for 6 months. Now is the perfect time with your tax return to get ahead financially.
Yep.
So what that looks like is pay off your debt. If your tax return isn't enough to pay off your debt, then pay it down, because now you're going to start saving money every single month. If you don't have debt, this is a great time to start investing. Those financial goals that you have, that you keep telling yourself eventually I'll get to them, that's what your tax return is supposed to be used for. So just
Coach Rick, you've just got to follow that sound advice, people. If you're getting a nice tax return, please don't go on a holiday. Please don't spunk it up the wall. Actually, pay your debts off. Use it for something, or put it towards a deposit, or pay off your car. But I've been seeing in these comments down here, she's only getting a $50 refund, $27 refund. Leave me a comment, guys. I don't know how it works in America. What's your refunds this year? Have you noticed it's dropped all the way down $31? God, it's weird, that.
On this vote, the yeas are 63, the nays are 36. The 60-vote threshold having been achieved, the bill is passed.
I thank my colleagues for the good work tonight. I commend President Biden and his team for producing a sensible compromise under the most difficult of circumstances. So many of the destructive provisions in the Republican bill are gone. Because we persisted and we kept insisting that default is off the table, we will not be defaulting. And we will not be passing the hard rights extreme agenda, virtually no part of it. And that is thanks to the Senate and House Democrats and to President Biden.
Yeah, it's not a left or a right thing, people. These guys just stand up there and chat shit all day long. They're all spending money at an outrageous rate. Don't let them fool you. It's not a Republican or a Democrat thing. They're all addicted to spending money.
Today, the Democrats revealed that they have all...
Can we move forward?
Such an important question. So we're at $33 trillion, a number that nobody...
34.5 trillion, people. This was the 12th of May 2023. It was 32 trillion. So, at 6 months, guys, it's going up 2.5 trillion. I think that makes sense.
When we had our economy rocking and rolling just prior to COVID coming in, like literally, we were making a fortune. And oil, we were going to make so much money from oil, we were going to start paying off debt. But then with COVID coming in, we had to do other things. We had to keep this country alive because it was so serious. But we have to get the country back. We have to lower energy prices. We have to lower interest rates. Interest rates are through the roof. Energy has to come down. It all has to come down, and we have to start paying off debt. But when we have a debt limit, and they use that very seriously. I mean, they came in, Schumer came in with Nancy Pelosi, and they were using it. We'll violate it, we'll do whatever. They talked a whole lot different than they do right now. I say to the Republicans out there, congressmen, senators, if they don't give you massive cuts, you're going to have to do a default. And I don't believe they're going to do a default, because I think the Democrats will absolutely cave, because you don't want to have that happen. But it's better than what we're doing right now, because we're spending money like drunken sailors.
So just to be clear, Mr. President, you think the U.S. should default if the White House does not agree to the spending cuts Republicans are demanding?
Well, you might as well do it now, because you'll do it later, because we have to sit.
Yeah, and this is what a lot of people don't get. They're kicking the can down the road. So I'm not exactly... I mean, I don't even know how they're going to tackle this debt thing, but he is right. Eventually, you are going to have to deal with this, because if every year you just try and kick the can down the road, try and raise the debt limit without tackling the problem, the actual out-of-control spending, what the fuck?
This country, our country is dying. Our country is being destroyed by stupid people, by very stupid people.
You once said that using the debt ceiling as a negotiating wedge just could not happen. You said that when you were in the Oval Office.
I was president.
So why is it different now that you're out of office?
Because now I'm not president.
The U.S. defaulting would be massively consequential for everyone in this room, for all of
you. You don't know. It's psychological. It's really psychological more than anything else. And it could be very bad. It could be maybe nothing. Maybe it's you have a bad week or a bad day. But look, you have to cut your costs. We're spending $7 trillion on, much of it on nonsense. $7 trillion on nonsense.
We've got another
question
for a voter tonight.
Get all of that money that was wasted, and frankly, the Senate should have never approved it. Get all that money that was wasted And if they don't get rid of that, you'll have to default. Okay?
Mr.
You'll have to
President,
default.
we've got another voter here tonight.
And by the way, you're going to default eventually anyway, but it's going to be much messier. I don't think you'll have to default. I think if the Republicans hold strong and they say let's say we want $5 trillion off, I really think the Democrats have no choice but to do it. And if I win, they're going to be doing the same thing to me in 2 years. I guarantee it.
Yeah, and here's the thing, guys. I think it's almost like you want to control the default. So if you can, actually do it and not just kick the can down the road, and like he said, it gets messier, and then it's forced upon you. I don't know. Leave me a comment, guys. Leave me a comment. It's just so much money. It's just so much money.
Morning everyone and happy Wednesday. So I'm about a week late to show you my debt journey payment. I've been sharing this with you since October 2023 and I'm doing this on a monthly basis. So this will be the update regarding January 2023. So when I started sharing my journey, because I've started paying it off a while ago, but I only start sharing in my TikTok in October, I owe a total of $9,934.48, and we ended the year in December 2023, so last month, for the debt journey, with $8,818.34. So in January 2024, and this is updated on the 31st of January, let me just scroll down. We had paid off the credit card once, so we only have 3 credit cards and the car loan, and the total amount in debt was $8,593.16. So this is the current amount that we owe from this amount over here in December. This means that in January the payment was £513.10. Obviously, if you take this from this, you'll see it's not the right calculation. The issue here with debt, and that's why I want to pay my debt off as quickly as I can, it's the interest. So although I paid £513 towards my car loan and the 3 credit cards, I only reduced about £300 because then I gain interest, which is very, very annoying. So I ended January with £8,593.16 in debt. I'm wanting to pay this second credit card by March, potentially March, April. So this will leave me only with 2 credit cards and the car loan, which is still a lot of money. It's going down, not as quick as I wanted to, but I'm on track to pay every of my debt earlier than the contracts that I've made initially, so I'm quite happy with that. Do you want to share your debt journey? What are you paying and how?
Shout out Tatty, you're getting a follow. I want to see how you do. But yeah, she's doing it right, guys. If you have loads of debt, you have to really break it down like this and visualize where the debt's going. But look at this, guys. 4 credit cards on the side. So many people are like this. They've got 4 credit cards that they're currently using. They just need cash. They open up a new credit card. And before you know it, you're in this situation. But yeah, shout out Tatty. I hope you do well. I'm going to keep an eye on you. We'll do one more and get out, guys. But this debt situation for governments, for companies, and for people is out of control.
Debt is soaring, with even the New York Fed raising the alarm that mass defaults could be coming. In a fresh report last week, Americans' household debt rose $212 billion in the fourth quarter to a record $17.5 trillion. That is about $141,000 in debt per American household, up $2,000 on the quarter. By the way, that's up $3.5 trillion since pre-pandemic, and of course it does not include the federal debt. That one is up $10 trillion since pre-pandemic. Put them together, and the average American household has taken on $103,000 in fresh debt since COVID, made up of $27,000 in private debt and $76,000 in federal debt.
Just think of those numbers, guys. Like, what are even these numbers? And this is just since the pandemic.
Breaking it down, Americans are now carrying $12.3 trillion in mortgages, which is up
And a good chunk of that is going to be overinflated prices since the pandemic, when that crazy surge in prices went on. I bet a lot of people are actually truly upside down on these houses.
$12 billion on the quarter, $1.6 trillion in car loans, another $1.6 in student loans, and a record $1.1 trillion in credit card debt, which is
Outrageous.
up $50 billion, making for a 20% annualized rate. That brings credit card debt to over 6,000.
And just remember, guys, the average interest rate is 24% on credit cards right now. So these banks are making 24% of that 1.6 trillion. Just let that sink in, guys.
Household. It's worth mentioning credit cards cost 25% interest at the moment, meaning it is last resort debt, or at least it should be. So what's next? Brought to you by Unchained.com. Beyond the debt levels, the main concern, what has the New York Fed concerned, is the default rate. That had plunged during COVID when millions of Americans paid off debt with stimulus checks and because they stopped spending on things like vacations and restaurants since they were all closed. That gave us a low base to start from, so that default rates had been historically low. But that's now changing as Americans have long since run through the trillions they had amassed during COVID. The first debt to break is looking like car loans. That's the one the New York Fed specifically fingered, and there's 280 million of those.
And this is the one, guys. We've been doing videos on this. Go back and check them up. I'll be doing more on the car loans, but the defaults on that are outrageous right now. A lot of people bought cars that they just couldn't afford, shouldn't have had, and now that's starting to bite them in their ass. We'll keep up on that one as well, guys.
As millions of Americans bought cars they couldn't afford during COVID, both because cars were ridiculously expensive with supply chains jammed, but also because stimulus gave them the down payment and artificially boosted their credit scores, since credit scores really like it when you pay down debt. The upshot is that tens of millions of Americans are now driving cars they should never have bought. So expect America's leafy suburbs to soon be filled with the sounds of busy repo men. Next after...
And if you want to make some money, people, right now, if you can get into the repo, you're probably going to do very, very well. Because like he said, there's so many people who should never have had these cars. They're just not paying them back. The repo market is going to explode, people.
This is home equity lines, borrowing against your house. Those have risen for the 7th straight quarter despite fairly savage interest rates. That is a typical pattern when homeowners are in trouble, pretty much the last stage before they stop paying the mortgage. Finally, the big one, credit cards. The Fed noted serious delinquencies rising among all age groups, with young borrowers actually passing their pre-pandemic numbers. In fact, the last time it was this high for all age groups was the 2008 crisis. I mentioned millions of Americans are in financial despair, doom spending, and not even bothering to control their spending, with incomes falling further and further behind. Now, the music is stopping, and here come the defaults. Paired with falling retail sales, debt, and defaults are painting a picture of an American consumer who is falling over the edge. All that before now resurgent inflation comes for another round. Okay, we'll be watching. See you next time.
Informative guy, gave him a follow. Peter, thanks for the video on that one. Interesting stuff. So guys, leave me a comment. I love hearing from the community. Are you going through these debt issues right now? Are you one of the smart people who've seen this come in and have been debt adverse? I hope you are. I've got some pretty clued up followers. The community is fantastic. I'll catch you on the next one. But before we go, let's have another quick look at this. Boom, gone up another 100,000. Ridiculous, people. Ridiculous. Right, I'll catch you on the next one. Bye.